Hi everyone, today I'm going to be doing a video all about C-sections or cesareans as people call them, and this is going to be my experience but some tips and facts, and I've kind of split it up into 3 sections. I've made loads of notes last night, so there's a lot to get through, but I'm splitting it into 3, so I'm going to talk about the before, during and after. So many people have asked me to do this video, and I've had emails, like private emails, saying that they're scared because they've got to have a planned C-section and they just want to know, you know, what happens and what's the aftercare like. So hopefully this video answers a lot of your questions, and also it might be a bit scary. I'm not gonna sit here and be all like, oh, it's, you know, it's fine, you'll recover really quickly and make it all look brilliant, because it's not, and it is a really serious operation. So I hope I don't scare anyone too much, but I am being as honest as I can. But you've just got to remember, at the end of it, it doesn't matter how scared you are or worried or terrified, you're going to have your baby at the end of the operation. Okay, so if I look down, it's because I got my notes, so I really apologise for that. But the first fact I will give anyone is prepare yourself. Even if you think you're going to have a natural birth and, you know, a vaginal birth, just prepare yourself for a C-section as well, because you just never know what could happen in a labour and delivery. I got induced and I was in labour for 3 days, and I ended up having an emergency C-section due to a failed induction. So I wasn't aware of this, you know, like, not aware of it, but I wasn't prepared for it. I kind of knew I would end up having a C-section because I'm so tiny, but if the induction didn't fail, I probably would have went on to have a natural birth. So just prepare yourself, and if when you're writing your birth plan out, don't get your hopes up, because it might not go to plan. Some people it might, and some people might have, you know, the birth they want, but sometimes it can end up in an emergency C-section, or your baby could be breech, or you could be having twins or triplets. So yeah, just prepare yourself. If you know you're having a planned C-section, obviously I don't know too much about planned C-sections because mine was an emergency one, but I know they give you dates to come in and stuff like that. But if you know you're going to have a C-section, make sure you plan for it. So make sure you buy stuff for the recovery after, such as you can get these kind of like belly wraps or support bands. I never got one of them because obviously it was just an emergency C-section, and if I had a C-section next time I probably would get one, because I've heard amazing things about them and they really suck you in as well and help you recover. So maybe think about getting one of them. Also get pads, because you will still bleed down there for, I think I bled for a couple of weeks. And it was pretty heavy, so make sure you've got plenty of pads like you would for a normal birth. Okay, again, if you know you're having a planned C-section, maybe think about making meals beforehand and freezing them, and this would just be an absolute lifesaver, because you're in so much pain after an operation. You don't want to spend hours and hours cooking or preparing dinners. So just maybe beforehand, if you've got spare time in your hands or on your maternity leave, or a couple of days before you have your C-section, make up batches of meals and freeze them. Another fact that I can't stress enough is rest as much as you can. Same with if you're having a normal birth. When you go on maternity leave, just make the most of it. Rest. Do not do, you know, hours and hours of cleaning like I did. I was up till like 1 o'clock in the morning nesting and cleaning like a freak. But yeah, just rest as much as you can, because when that baby comes along, the days where you can just lay in and stay in bed are gone. I'm not sure if this is relates to all hospitals. All hospitals might be different in different countries, but I know if you're having a C-section you can't eat 12 hours before. Now I think when I was in labour I didn't eat anything, to be honest with you. For 3 days I think I had maybe a bite of a toast or something, but they advise you not to eat, because obviously they're going to be operating on your stomach, and it's better to be an empty stomach than a full stomach. So maybe not to eat for 12 hours and just drink plenty and plenty of water. This will kind of get everything out of your system, and it will also keep you hydrated, because when you have your IV in you for the operation, you can get really dehydrated, and especially being on the wards afterwards. So just drink plenty and plenty of water. When you have a C-section, they say not to drive for around 6 weeks. Now obviously everyone's different and everyone recovers differently. Obviously I don't drive as well, but I'm just giving you some facts for if you are having a C-section. So if you think you would be able to drive, maybe check with your doctor first. No heavy lifting as well, so if you've got a car seat with a baby in it, try not to carry the car seat, because this is something I really found hard. So get your partner to, or your mum, or anyone you know, if you are going out, maybe go out with someone so they can help you do all that. Other things like walking up the stairs, make life easier and bring nappies and wipes downstairs with you, and maybe bring your bed down if you can, but don't push yourself. So don't try and walk up the stairs a million times a day, because it's just not good for you. When you're having a C-section, obviously they need to shave you, because it's obviously an operation. So you can either do it yourself if you know you're having a C-section, or they will do it for you. I think they done mine for me, because I didn't know what was happening and I didn't care. But they literally just shave your bikini line area. No swimming in case of infection. I think they say no swimming for a couple of months, I think mine was, and I didn't go swimming till April, and I had Ellie in November. And this is so important, because like I said, you can catch infections and you don't want to end up in hospital. Like I said, pack loads of pads. Also pack granny knickers and loose clothing. I can't stress this enough. Do not bring tight clothing, because it is so uncomfortable. I had trousers that were pajama bottoms that were 2 sizes bigger than me, and you're better off getting trousers that kind of go above your scar, because if it's rubbing against it, it can be really sore and irritating. So, don't worry about anyone on the ward. They're all going to look like crap as well. Just honestly, I can't stress this enough. I know they're very ugly looking, but just get knickers 2-3 times up, and then just bin them when you finish with them. Okay, just a little kind of fact. When I had my C-section, the surgeons actually had the radio on in the background, and it kind of distracts you a bit. I'm not saying it distracts you fully and it takes your mind off what's happening, but I was so shocked that they had it on, in a good way. It was kind of really cool and interesting. So maybe talk to your surgeons and say, can you bring a CD, or can you have the radio on? And just bear in mind, this might not happen with all hospitals, but I know my hospital had, I think it was Take That On or something like that, and I was just loving it. Well, I wasn't loving it because it was just awful. Okay, the epidural. Now, I want to talk about the epidural a bit, because this was something I was absolutely petrified of. I remember watching One Born Every Minute and hearing people talk about this epidural, and I freaked out. I could not sleep, and I knew anyway, if I didn't have a cesarean, I probably would have ended up having a epidural. So I kind of had to, relax and just say, so with the epidural, I'm going to be totally honest, and I want to help people out there that have got phobias of needles like me. Honestly, I was more worried about the epidural than the whole actual experience of labour and delivery, because I just absolutely hate needles. But I had a really good doctor that done it. I'm not sure what they're called. There's a certain name for them, but my doctor who done the epidural was absolutely incredible. He was so calm. He spoke me through it. He spoke to me like an adult. He didn't speak to me like, I was a young girl in labour, and was really, bossy. He was amazing. He told me what to do. He was very slow with me, and he waited for me to say, go with it. So I really do hope that you do get a good doctor, because I know my mum, when she had an epidural back in the day, she had a horrible midwife, and she done it completely wrong, and it's just terrified her. And when she told me that, I was just thinking, oh my god, how am I going to do this? But he was amazing, and he spoke to me about like general stuff like, oh, you're going on holiday this year and stuff like that, and it just really made me feel relaxed. So I'm so grateful for him, and it didn't hurt one bit, honestly. Like, I thought it would hurt, but it didn't. Obviously it might for some people, but when you're having the contractions as well as the epidural, it kind of, you're focusing more on the contractions and getting through them. So I had an epidural while I was in labour and not when I was in the theatre operating room. So I didn't have to sit in the theatre and, you know, they do all the process then. I already had it, so I was literally wheeled into theatre and they started. So just bear that in mind. If it's an emergency C-section, you might already have the epidural in, because my labour was so long. They said I'd advise you to have an epidural because you won't be able to take the pain. So yeah, basically before they take you into the theatre, they top up your epidural, and that will make you kind of more numb. Also, on top of the epidural, before they start the procedure, the operation, they used a spray on me. So they sprayed it on my stomach or like my thighs, and it's basically a spray with cold air, like ice cold air. And they said, can you feel this? So every time they sprayed it, they said, can you feel this? And I was like, yes or no. And that basically means if you can feel it, that means you're not numb enough, and if you don't feel it, you are numb and they're ready to go. Talk more about a catheter and the IV. I did not know what a catheter was. They put a catheter in me. When I was being induced, I was always hooked up to a monitor. I couldn't even go to the toilet because I was hooked up to this machine. Yeah, obviously I couldn't get out of bed. I wanted to, like I wanted to get up and walk about and kind of help my labour progress, but they wouldn't let me. I had to stay in my bed. So they put a catheter in me while I was in labour, and they didn't do it before the C-section. So I had that in for quite a while. I didn't feel it because I had the epidural, so you don't feel nothing, there's no pain. And basically a catheter, if you don't know what it is, I had no clue what it is. I looked at my mum when she said the word catheter and I went, what the hell is that? But it's basically they put something inside you. I don't even know what it is. Like, is it a tube? And basically when you're under an epidural, you can't feel yourself wanting to go to the toilet, a wee. So you don't know when you need to go or if you're going because you're completely numb. So basically the catheter just collects all your urine, and yeah, it kind of goes in like a bag. After your operation, I know this should be in the afterwards section, but I'm just going to say this now in case I forget. When you have your catheter in, and when the numbness starts to wear off and you know I need to pee, like, you know when you get that feeling that you need to go to the toilet, use the toilet or bedpan and get the catheter removed. They usually remove the catheter after around 12 hours. So when you get that urge to pee, use the toilet or bedpan, because when this catheter's out, it means you can recover a lot quicker and start moving. Also the IV, they put a IV in your hand, and I remember when this went in, I just felt really cold because it's like fluid going into your system. So when you go into the operating theatre, you might feel a bit cold, but that's completely normal. Birthing partner can also go in with you to the theatre, but they will have to wear all the scrubs from like head to toe. So whether it's your partner or your mum, you're allowed one person in there, and this might change with different hospitals. So yeah, like I said in the first tip, just mentally prepare yourself. Try and stay as calm as possible, even though it is terrifying. And you just got to think at the end of it, no matter how painful it is, you will have your baby in your arms, and yeah, it's all worth it. You can also take your camera in with you. Just double check with your hospital, but we were allowed to take a couple of photos when Ellie was born. So it's really nice because obviously with the natural delivery you can do all that and you can film it, but they're a bit more stricter in the theatre. So just double check and do take photos because it is still a special moment. My last tip of the before category is get your partner or your mum to take some time off work. I know a lot of dads are entitled to paternity leave, I think that's what it's called, and it's just so helpful because after a surgery you will not be able to do the things you want to do. So I think Paul took a week off work, but I think 3 days I was in hospital, so he was back to work quite quickly, and my mum took 2 weeks off, and she was just great, you know, helping me, bringing my food shopping round and just helping me out. So if you know you're having a planned C-section, try and get your partner or someone like that to take time off work. So when you are going into the theatre, mine was, because it was an emergency C-section, I did have to wait, I think it was 2 hours before I actually went into theatre, because there was women before me going into there with like 3rd-degree tears and stuff like that. So they were obviously higher than me and they had to go into theatre before me. So during this 2 hours, you know, I was just petrified and shaking like crazy, and I was just so drugged up at this point. But it went pretty quickly, and they're brilliant, the doctors and the nurses. They talk you through what's happening and make you feel as comfortable as possible. So yeah, you will probably get the shakes. The numbing, that kind of happens very, very quickly. It's from your rib cage downwards. You can't feel a thing. So obviously do not attempt to get up at this point because you will just fall to the ground. But yeah, you won't feel nothing. The actual procedure lasts for around 30 to 45 minutes. It just depends on how complicated your operation is. Obviously, if your baby's breech, it might be a bit longer and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I know it might seem like forever in that theatre, but just kind of focus your mind, focus on hearing that baby cry. That's what I done. I just looked at the ceiling and waited for that cry to happen, and it kind of gets you through it. When it comes to them cutting you open, you don't feel a thing. I was really scared about this bit because the thought of someone slicing me just really freaked me out, but you don't feel that. They do tell you when you're going to do it, so you can kind of prepare yourself, but honestly you don't feel it, which is a good thing. Now the main thing I found really traumatic, and I'm going to be totally honest and open out here because I don't want to say I didn't feel a thing and it wasn't painful, but the most bit I found really, really upsetting for me, and I had like nightmares and flashbacks of it, is when they're actually in your stomach and, you know, removing the baby and trying to get the baby out. It is horrendous. Like, the pressure in your stomach is so uncomfortable. There's a lot of pulling and tugging and pushing down. And I remember, I've said it in my labour and delivery video, but the way they were pushing down on my stomach felt like I couldn't breathe. And at one point I thought, I can't breathe. Like, I started to have a panic attack, and because they're pressing on all your like lungs and organs, I just honestly thought I was gonna die. I know that sounds really awful, but it was just horrendous. And to try and calm it down, because they thought the epidural was wearing off, they thought I could actually feel like everything. They started putting the oxygen mask on me, which made me a bit worse because I just felt really trapped and claustrophobic laying on this table. I'm going to be honest about that, that was not pleasant. And it did last for quite a while because Ellie was quite a big baby for me because I'm tiny. And I think they were trying to really pull her out, and it felt like a bowling ball was coming out of my stomach. Like, it was really, really painful. So Ellie's cord was wrapped around her neck as well, so I think they were having trouble kind of, you know, unwrapping the cord and everything. So yeah, that was only for about 10 minutes of them trying to get Ellie out, but it felt like forever. Like, I thought it was never going to end. So they do, if you do start getting really uncomfortable, tell them. Like, that's one thing I didn't do, and I started, you know, getting all panicky, but just tell them, or tell your partner, I don't like this, and they will either increase your drugs or medication, or, you know, try and calm you down. Another thing, to keep your mind off it, try and focus on something, like I said, the first cry, or the radio. Like I said, the radio was on, so I was kind of, you know, focusing on that. Or try and get your partner to talk to you. So, you know, talk to your partner and say, like, I can't wait to see the baby, and I wonder if the baby's going to have hair, and things like that, because it will kind of keep your mind off it a tiny bit. And also the nurses as well, they talk to you throughout the whole thing. You alright, Chilly? Yeah? You're just chilling on mummy? They put a screen up before the actual operation, so you can't see a thing, which is good obviously, because you don't want to see anything they're doing. When they do cut you, it's so small. It's on your bikini line, so it's just where your knickers sit. And I didn't actually know this, because I didn't really know much about cesareans, but I thought it was more on your stomach, like just below your belly button. But it's not, it's on your bikini line. And when the surgeon cut me afterwards, he told me that he done a really good job of it, because, you know, I am still young and I do want to still be in my bikinis and go on holiday and not have to worry about this big ugly scar. And I've got to say this, the scar, honestly, it was amazing. It was tiny. At first it does look really scary and very sore, and you're like terrified of looking at it, but now, a year and 4 months on, it's hardly recognised. So he done a really good job on it, and most surgeons do, because it's not a very nice scar. With this scar though, you can hide it, so that's what I really like about it. After the pulling and tugging, your baby will be born, and sometimes the baby might not cry, so you just got to kind of remember that. Ellie didn't cry at first. I think it took a couple of minutes for her to cry because the cord was wrapped around her neck. But you don't get the baby straight away. Some hospitals might give the baby straight away, because you might want to do the one-to-one skin contact, because I know that you can still do that with cesareans. But I never got to do that, which was, you know, it was quite upsetting, but I was just glad that she was there. So yeah, they take the baby, they do the checks and all that kind of stuff, weigh them, and the umbilical cord's cut. Once your baby is fine and healthy and all that, they will bring the baby over to you, and the mum might be able to hold the baby first, but just don't get your hopes up about this, because I wasn't allowed to hold her at first, because I was still in a lot of pain and I was a bit out of it. But Paul was able to hold her for the first time, and it is lovely just, you know, looking at him, and you get your photo taken. When your baby comes out, with cesareans they say that babies swallow a lot of mucus, so just bear that in mind, that your baby might be getting sick a bit more than what they should be, and they might be like very congested, and that's due to the mucus from the cesarean. Once the surgery is over, they will wheel you to a recovery ward, and at this point I had Ellie on me, which was like the best moment ever. They wheel you to a recovery ward, and you're there for around a couple of hours, I think, and this is where you feed the baby for the first time. And again, if you're, you know, you've just come out of surgery, and I'm going to be honest, you won't be able to do anything, so get your partner to feed the baby, or a midwife should come and help you to do it. And also they give you some tea and toast, and this was probably the best thing I've had in ages. Like, I didn't eat for about 3 or 4 days at this point, and after an operation you just feel so drained and you have no energy and you're starving. So this tea and toast, it was probably crap. Like, I think Paul had a bite of it and he said like the toast was horrible, but to me it was amazing. Yeah, you will be able to have your first little meal. That's why they give you tea and toast, to see if you can hold it down. They won't give you like a big meal or anything. Another quick little tip, they will put surgical stockings on you, and this is to help prevent blood clots. Okay, so this is the afterwards section now, and this is probably the main bit I want to talk about, because it's all about recovery and all that stuff. So I'm going to get into it because there is a lot. A couple hours after the recovery ward, you'll be wheeled to the maternity ward, and that's obviously with all the other mums. And you're on that ward until you get discharged from the hospital. Your partner might have to go home. I know Paul did. Ellie was born at 3:44 in the morning, and by the time I was in the maternity ward it was around 6 in the morning, and they sent Paul home, which I was like really annoyed about, to be honest, because I was like, who's going to look after the baby while I'm numb from the waist down? But yeah, they do have to go home. Some hospitals are different though. The most important thing with a recovery is keep up with your medication, and honestly I can't stress this enough. Before I went into the hospital, I used to struggle taking tablets. I used to absolutely hate them. Like honestly, I would avoid taking tablets because I just had a fear about them. And when you see how many tablets you have to take after a C-section, that fear is just gone out the window, because you just have to take them for yourself. And if you don't take the medication, then you will be in absolute agony and you will end up in hospital. So I can't stress this enough. Keep up with your medication. When you're discharged from the hospital, they will give you, I think I had to take three different tablets a day, plus needles, which I'm going to talk about. So yeah, just keep up with your medication because it's there for a reason. It's to take the pain away. Afterwards you might be very swollen and itchy. This is completely normal and it will go down after a couple of days. The first 12 hours after your surgery you will be completely numb. This will feel like quite nice. You don't have to do much, you just relax for them 12 hours and you can't feel any pain. That's probably the best bit after the surgery, is you can't feel the pain until the numbness wears off. After 12 hours, the midwife will come round to you and they will advise you to start getting out of bed. Now, when she told me this, I looked at her as if she was crazy. Like, I didn't know what to say to her, because obviously I've never had a cesarean before. I've never read up on cesareans, but they say to get moving ASAP. So I'm not talking about walk the whole entire hospital or walk up and down the stairs. I mean just getting out of the bed with assistance. Make sure you've always got someone with you, because you might just, tear your scar or something like that. So always make sure someone's with you. But just little things like trips to the toilet or trip to the end of the ward or something like that. Little steps. Don't push yourself to do it. Don't go over the top, but do get moving ASAP. This will reduce blood clots and it will also help you recover very quickly. So when they told me to start moving, I didn't want to. I thought, no, like I've just had an operation. Why would I start getting out of bed and walking about when I've just had an operation? Because you think that after a massive operation you just lay in bed and recover like that, but in a cesarean you have to get moving, and it's really important. So I now know if I ever have a second cesarean to do that, and you will probably recover a lot more quickly. Some hospitals are different, and I've read online a lot of people have said that they was able to shower. I wasn't able to have a shower, but I was able to kind of like wash my scar and have like a little bed bath. And the thought of having a shower, obviously in being in so much pain, really scared me. And I know this is going to sound really gross, but I didn't actually have a full shower until 2 weeks. Obviously I had little washes and stuff, but the thought of lifting my leg up to get into the shower was just horrendous. But some hospitals do have like chairs and showers. So if you do want to, have a shower, because it does make you feel a lot better, then definitely go for it. Just be careful with the scar. At first, when they take the dressing off the scar, I think they do this after 12 hours, it will look really scary and just horrible, because it's very red and bloody and it looks quite big, but obviously when the scar starts healing, it's hardly noticeable. It takes around 6 to 8 weeks to feel yourself again. I'm not going to say you feel like 100%, because you will still feel sore now and then, but around 6 to 8 weeks you will start feeling yourself and you'll be able to do the things that you used to do. But altogether it takes around 6 months to be completely healed. This might change, but the maximum hospital stay, or like the longest they do keep patients in that have had cesareans, is around 3 to 4 days. I was in there for 3 days, and I had Ellie Saturday early hours in the morning and I was discharged Monday evening. So, but honestly, while you're in the hospital, make the most of it, because the midwives are there to help you. You don't get a lot of sleep, I'm going to be totally honest, obviously because you've got a newborn baby and there's other mums and babies on the ward. You don't get a lot of sleep, so you can be very, very groggy and overtired. Take things slow. I know I said to get moving ASAP, but just take every day slowly, and every day you will get better. So the first 12 hours will be okay because you're still numb. The first 24 hours will be really, really sore and you'll feel like you've just been hit by a bus. But every day gets better with the healing process. Also eat. Make sure you eat and have your energy levels, because you're going to have no energy, you're going to be super tired from a baby. And also another subject which is probably a bit TMI, but you will probably get a bit constipated. This is completely normal with childbirth anyway, but just try and eat kind of like high fibre rich foods and that will help. Also the doctors might give you a tablet to help with that. Needles that I was talking about earlier, again this terrified me because I was still nervous about needles, but every day after your surgery you will have to inject yourself for a whole week, I think it is. Yeah, it was a whole week, and you have to carry this on when you're at home as well. So they give you the pack of needles, and when you're finished with them you have to put them in like a yellow box that you hand over to your midwife when she comes to see you at home. And these injections were called Slexane or something, I can't pronounce it, but they were basically a needle which was spring loaded with the medicine in it, and these were so important to do. I really, really didn't want to do them, but you have to because it prevents blood clots, and if you don't do it you will end up back in hospital, so it's so important to do these. It didn't hurt. The only way I can describe it, and it might sound really, really weird, but you know when you get a pen and you kind of click the top of it, and it's got the spring, that is basically what it's like, and it's like a tiny little pinch but you can't feel it, and you have to do this on the side of your belly to help like the blood flow. It prevents blood clots, and also the nurses show you how to do it. It's not a proper injection, it's nothing like that, it's a little spring needle, and when you're finished with them you have to put them in a box and the midwife collects them. So yeah, just bear that in mind and don't get freaked out by it, because I did, but once you've been through this major surgery you can do anything, so don't let this put you off. Another tip, take all the help that is offered. So if it's your mum or your mother-in-law or your friend, anyone like that, and they offer to come and help, to cook you dinner, to look after the baby for a couple of hours while you rest in bed, anything like that, take the help, because you will not be able to look after your baby for a couple of days, and that's completely normal. Don't feel helpless, don't feel like, you know, it's my job, I'm the mum. You won't be able to do the things you'd like to do, so take all the help you can get. So everything hurts in your body, and things like lifting your leg up to get in and out of bed, because where the scar is, obviously it's near your leg kind of area, so every time you walk, every time you sit down, get into bed, get onto a chair, get into a car, it will hurt so much, and it is very, very painful. But like I said, every day the pain gets better. Take care of your scar as well, make sure you clean it, make sure it's not going to get infected. Just kind of never like rub the scar, just kind of dab it with some clean warm water. The stitches, now I didn't know about this, I had to actually ask my midwife when she came round to see me at home. I thought I had to go back to hospital to get my stitches removed, but she actually said they dissolve. So just make sure you find out, because obviously all hospitals are different and they might do different things, but they should tell you. They never told me when I left the hospital, but my stitches were dissolved. As well as your scar being very painful, your stomach is going to be very, very painful too. It's going to be feeling very bruised, and the only way I can describe it is when you do a really, really intense workout and you feel really, really achy and bruised, that is what it's going to feel like, because don't forget they was in your stomach and they were, you know, twisting and pulling in there, so it's going to be very, very achy. The midwife comes round, I think she came round the day after I was at home or 2 days after, and they check your scar, they you know, check for signs of infection, they ask you if you're doing the needles, they ask you if you're okay, all that sort of thing. It's just a basic checkup. Really important tip, and I would do this anyway if I was having a normal birth, and for my second baby I'm going to do this, but say no to visitors, because I know after you've had a baby everyone wants to see the baby and, you know, give them gifts and all stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you've gone through a really traumatic birth and you need to focus on getting yourself better and not worrying about making tea and making the house tidy for these visitors. So if they're, you know, really understandable friends or family, they will know not to come over. And it's different for close family members like your mother-in-law or your own mum and dad. But for friends and cousins and all that stuff, they can wait, because you and your baby are the most important at this time. Baby blues and postnatal depression. They say with cesareans you're more likely to get postnatal depression, and I do think that's quite true, because you are very, very down when you've had a cesarean. Not because of the pain, but because you feel so like helpless and you're watching other people hold your baby and change them, and you can't do that. I mean, when I was holding Ellie in the hospital, it was really, really painful for me, because obviously I couldn't lift my arms up, so I had to hold her where my scar was, and it was awful, and I couldn't hold her for much longer and I had to pass her off to someone else. But you will feel very, very down, and this is completely normal because it's your hormones. But just, you know, still get involved. If your partner's changing your baby, sit with your partner. And I remember my mum got a rocking chair, just like a glider chair, and I remember that was probably the most comfortable thing when I got back from the hospital, because it was so supportive. It was the right level for me. So really, I'd say invest in one of them. To be honest, I didn't really use it afterwards. Like after I was healed, I didn't really use it because I wasn't breastfeeding. But after a cesarean, it was very, very comfortable and just perfect for me. Yeah, with baby blues, you will probably get them. If you're really concerned about it, speak to a midwife or someone close to you, but it will get better in time. Walking really helps boost your blood flow, and obviously, like I said, it's good for a quick recovery. I remember within a week I went to get Ellie registered in our local town, and I had done a fair bit of walking, and there was a time where I had to tell Paul, like, you know, I can't walk much longer, because I remember the registry office wasn't open at a certain time, and we looked around the shops, and you know, I tried my best to, you know, get out for some fresh air, but there comes to a point where you have to think about your body, and if your body knows that you can't take it, then listen to your body. Another tip, don't overdo it. Don't go hours shopping, you know, to your shopping centre. Don't go hours food shopping. Just do little bits at a time. I remember my mum, after a few weeks, I really wanted to get out of the house because I was just fed up. So she took me to the Range, and it's like a big home store, but it's one shop, and she said, look, I don't want to take you all around the town centre, so if you just go to the Range, that will be like a big thing for you. You can still get out of the house. There's a cafe in there as well, and I managed to do it, you know. I didn't feel under pressure. I didn't feel like, oh my god, the car is miles away. So just take things very, very slow. If you're really into exercise, they say not to exercise for around 4 to 6 months. Just because of the scar, you don't want you don't want the scar to burst open or anything. So just talk to your GP and they will kind of give you more information on that. Keep an eye on your scar. If you see any redness or soreness or any signs of infection, report it to your midwife or doctor, because honestly this is so important. You'll just end up back in hospital. Yeah, that is all my tips for a C-section. I'm so sorry this video is going to be extremely long, but I really wanted to cover literally everything that happens, and I've had so many emails from expecting mothers, you know, terrified of C-sections, so I thought this video would be quite helpful. And if I do cover anything, leave me a comment and I will get back to you, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye!